Hello, BookTube. I've got a tag for you today on Tag Tuesday. I've got a tag made by the irrepressible Kevin Towle, Kevin Towle Reads, called the Reading Tics Tag, which is not, it's not your kind of tick. It's not the bad kind of tick. Unless they both are bad kinds of ticks. It's your reading habits, the reading things that surround you. There are a whole bunch of recent tags about this sort of thing. I love it. I'm nosy anyway, and I love it. I love knowing the things that readers do alongside or intertwined with their reading. So we'll go through these and maybe flush out a rant or two. Prompt number one is: do you only read at a specific time of day? And for me, no. There is a specific time of day where I read, and that is midnight. Where I do nothing but read, where I am not accessible to anything else. The dogs are in bed, the neighborhood is quiet, anything that anybody wants from me is over and done with. No editor anywhere can expect me to be at the other end of an email at midnight. And neither can anyone else. So at midnight, I turn into a pumpkin. I disconnect myself from the entire world and just read. I do a lot of reading throughout the day as well. I don't do that. That is exclusive. That is just book time. The only thing that can disrupt it is when dogs get old and frail and need to go out all night long. And that's different. Then that reading time gets interrupted just a bit. But otherwise, no. And certainly since I have a very little dog, I'm kind of hoping that once those years arrive, she might be accessible to a litter box or a pee pad of some kind, so that she can just take care of her business at night without needing to go outside. But otherwise, during the day, I don't have any fixed times, but I do lots of reading. If I have some stupid little deadline piece of prose, maybe 600 words that I'm doing just for $175 or something like that, and it's kind of tedious and my heart isn't in it, then I will do that and reward myself with a couple of hours of reading. And also, since I have the whole day, there'll be long stretches of time, 4 or 5 hours solid of reading, that I can give myself without even needing to reward myself, just because I'm apportioning my time. I know that I have time to do the rest of what I need to do in the day. So lots of reading during the day, but the only set time is at night, from midnight. Question number two is: do you prefer to read in your work/everyday clothes, or are you partial to reading in PJs or comfy clothes? Well, first of all, I don't have any work clothes. And second, I don't know how to say this without scandalizing you. Also, we'll say it quickly and move on. I'm not a big fan of clothes. When I don't have to wear them, I don't. And now I've had friends over the years say, well, it's easy for you to say because you don't get chilly from the outside. I'm chilled on the inside now all the time because I am old. But my skin is largely unresponsive to external stimuli, and that makes it easier to just, close the door, lock the door, and take your clothes off. So because that makes it easier. You're less vulnerable to the whims of the environment. But if we're talking about absolute favorite, yeah, it's naked as the day I was born. Sorry. Then question number 3. What is your favorite reading spot? Couch, chair, bed, outdoors, somewhere else? The outdoors part sent a shiver through me. But I have 2 favorite spots. I have just a handful of spots just in general. We can probably do the whole list fairly easily. Oh, my. Oh, goodness. Are you going to give us a little Frida yoga, baby girl? Oh, let's see. You can't jump straight over there. You're too tiny. So you're going to have to go down first. There you go. You're going to have to go down first and then over. You can do it, though. Get your foreground underneath you. You can't jump while you're stretched. Get your back legs underneath you. Okay, now go. There you go. There you go. Let's see. There you go. All right. Let me see if I can go through the list here. I read on the subway, on the rare occasions when I use it. I read here on the fainting couch. I read on the seat of ease in the bathroom. And I read in bed in the little book room. And that's it. So 4 places. 4 places. And of those 4 places, my favorite 2 places are here on the fainting couch or in the bed in the little book room. I'm not a big fan of reading outside, mainly because it has caused me so many problems in my life. Because as we're going to see later in this tag, I don't read with only one eye. I lose myself in what I'm reading. And that can be bad when you're supposed to be mentally counting subway stops or paying attention to where you are. That can be really bad. So that's not my favorite spot at all. And the bathroom, well, that's not really my favorite either. And when you're 50 years older than you are now, you'll see why. But the bed and the couch, delightful. Not maybe so unabashedly delightful these days, because Boston has not gone above freezing Fahrenheit for a daytime high temperature in 90 days. It's been really, really cold. And I know not as cold as some of the rest of the country, but really persistently cold. And it's going to warm up just a bit this week and then get right back into a daytime high of 8 degrees Fahrenheit, with it going down to 0 or below at night. And this is an old building, so these 2 spots, not so much the little book room, which is heavily insulated with floor-to-ceiling bookcases, but this corner where the fainting couch is designed for the weather that Boston has and is going to have more of in the future. It's designed for eternal summer. It's just this freak winter that is making it a little bit less enjoyable than it otherwise would be. Question number 4 is, do you snack while reading, or is this a no-go? You can't snack while reading. Okay? You can distract yourself from reading by snacking, but you can't snack while doing something else. 60-70% of your attention is turned to what you are doing. I have to reach over here and grab something. I have to put it in my mouth. I have to realize that it's enough to fit in my mouth, not too much. I can't spill any of it. And it's producing, when you chew on it, whatever you put in your mouth, it's producing a raft of new sensations that your body is hardwired to pay attention to. So you can't snack while you're reading, and you can't eat without realizing it, is what I'm trying to say. So snacking while you eat distracts you from reading. Might be one of your favorite things to do. More power to you if it is. But I've noticed that a lot of the people who say, "Oh, I can't get by without my peanuts or my crackle or my popcorn while I'm eating," I've noticed that a lot of those people are also the people who, on alternate days of the week, complain to me about how little they read or how little they remember of what they read. And those 2 things are connected. Uh-oh. What's the matter, baby? Did you change your mind? Come here. Come on, Frida. Come back over here. Well, baby, I can't help that. If you jump over there, you are further away from me than if you're over here. Come on. Come on over here. Come on. There you go. She always realizes that. She goes over there and then realizes, oh, wait, I'm further away from you. And she doesn't want that to happen. So, anyway, we'll return to that rant. Number 5, do you or have you ever peeked at the end of a book, or do you avoid spoilers at all costs? This is one of 2 indications in this tag that it was made by Kevin Towle Reads, someone who has never read any nonfiction and doesn't know that it exists. Since spoilers are only a thing in fiction. But no, I don't peek to the head of anything that I read. I read right straight through the book. There's, in my own defense, a lot less call for me to peek to the end of a book, because in some respects, we are a community here, and it's a community of readers, so we've all got each other's backs. But nevertheless, some aspects of my reading experience are probably different than yours. When you pick up a book to read, you are looking at a significant time investment. And so you have a lot of opportunities mentally to think, well, what's coming? And it's a lot less of a time investment for me. I read a lot faster than most people that I know, and I read all the time. So I don't even have that reason to justify peeking ahead. Otherwise, but I wouldn't do it anyway. Then question number 6 is, do you prefer first-person or third-person narrative, or do you care? In my works of fiction, you mean? In my biographies? Do I prefer first or third-person point of view in that new history of dinosaurs? No, this is a fiction question, and I don't. When it comes to fiction, I don't care at all. The only thing The only difference in slight quiver of attention that I will give to the difference between the two will be from a critical point of view. Because most people in the 21st century who try to write first-person fiction are really bad at it. First-person fiction has some immovable limitations. And a lot of people who decide, well, it's easier for me to write in first person because I'm completely navel-gazingly self-absorbed, so I comes naturally. They think it's natural for me to do that, and they don't think out, well, that means your narrator has to see or be aware of every aspect of your story. I've seen first person botched many, many times. So when I'm picking up a novel and I see that it's done in first person, a tiny part of my critical brain will be looking for that. How does the narrator know this thing the narrator just said? But otherwise, no, I could care less. The made-up stories. Question number 3 is, do you read dedications, author's notes, acknowledgements, or do you skip those? I don't skip anything in a book. Now, that is true even for the books that I'm reading purely for pleasure, mainly because I have been reading critically. I've been reading books for work, to develop a critical response for so long that I really can't get around some of those habits. And of course, one of the foremost of those habits, if you're reading a book critically, is you've got to know everything about it. You've got to know everything that's between its two covers. It can't be that something happens between those two covers, something in the acknowledgements, like, for instance, an author saying at the end of their acknowledgements, and oh, by the way, thanks to my nephew for finishing the book. You can't not know that if you're reading the book for an audience, because what happens if you get to the end and realize there's a massive tonal shift? And let's say you get on your high horse and bang the drum about that in your review, and you need, what? Some housewife from Oshkosh to write into your editor and say, in the acknowledgements, the author says that he didn't write the end of the book. Maybe you should fire your reviewer. No, you don't want that to happen. Same thing with notes, same thing with anything. A habit of reading something critically is that I have to be aware of every single thing that's in the book. And so I read it all anyway. Which is always, it was kind of funny these days, because a lot of contemporary works of fiction, the author will, in their acknowledgements, will thank upwards of 300 people for a novel that is going to be a lukewarm, flapping in the breeze piece of crap. So how did it take 300 people to produce this? But anyway, question number 8. Do you have a favorite reading beverage? Once again, it is not possible to drink a beverage while reading. What you do when you reach over to a slopping cup of liquid over your electronic device or your paper book, what you do when you do that is divert 75 to 85% of your attention to that while your eyes are still in the act of reading words on the page. So you do that and you drink and you tell yourself that you're still reading, and then you have to put that back. You can't miss the shelf or it'll drop and spill on the floor. You can't put it on top of something else. It has to be level. You have to pay a huge amount of attention to that activity. Just like with eating, so too with drinking. No one does it without knowing that they're doing it. And most of the people I know who say, oh, I see what you mean about popcorn, but I can't read without my tea. Oh, I can't read without my hot cocoa. Most of the people that I know who say that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will say, I really wish I could pay attention to books the way you do. I really wish I could remember books the way you do. I wish I could read more. Most of the people who have these kinds of silly rituals where I've got to be in a certain place, I've got to have a certain Beastie Boys song on, I've got to have the trail mix, I've got to have the right hot cocoa. Most of those people also complain about not getting the most out of their reading. Well, maybe if you paid all your attention to reading, you would get more out of the experience. To me, it's like asking an Olympic swimmer what video game they like to play while they're doing laps, while they're competing. So you're in an event and you are trying to beat the people in the other lanes. What video game are you playing while you do that? To me, it makes as much sense as that. And so does the follow-up, because a competitive swimmer who gave you an answer to that question said, well, it's Mario Kart, and I really wish I won more events. You wouldn't hesitate to say, well, I think I see your problem. But when it comes to readers, oh no, I've got to have my mug. Okay, fine. If you like that, fine. But don't complain to me about your tortoise crawl through what you read if you're intentionally slowing yourself up. Anyway, question number 9 is, how do you decide what to read next? TBR, mood, goals, or random choice? Again, here is a slight difference, maybe just a little, not a lot, with a lot of you, because I have a very strict remit for what I read. It's the American new releases in the 15 or 16 genres that I find interesting. And those, I read those in the reflex of a critic. So I set them up by month of publication, and then within that I set them up within the week of publication, what date is actually the date of release date, and tend to go through them roughly in that order. So in that sense, I'm probably different from most of the people listening to this video. But there's another part of my reading, another select percentage of my reading is reading projects that I do or random finds secondhand at the Brattle Bookshop. And those will usually be some variation of random chance and mood. It will be, usually I have the wonderful feeling of serendipity, of the tumblers falling into place for some of those books. And that ends up being a lot of fun, but that is only a small fraction of what I read. Most of what I read, there's no element of chance involved at all, except that I don't know what wonders publishers are coming out with from month to month, from year to year. I can see some of them ahead of time, but I get surprises in the mail every day. And that is wonderful. Also, the new books themselves, whether I know they're coming or not, can contain surprises. Most of them bad, some of them good. But what they are is largely, in that side of my reading, is largely determined for me. And then question number 10 is to tag some others, but a lot of people have done this already. If you have not done this and you have a channel, feel free to do this. You know that I'm interested. You know that I'm nosy. But otherwise, I'm not going to tag anybody, because I would be double tagging people. And that's a bittersweet thing to do. Tagging anyone is bittersweet just in general. But double tagging someone is even more bittersweet if you are an outcast, a leper, a pariah, which is what I am. Because Kevin Towle didn't tag me for this tag. He hates me because I smell. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now for Tag Tuesday, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.